with a wonderful smile, and he stands there talking. Even if he doesn't talk to a person, as he goes past, I've seen the faces of people light up. There is an extraordinary effulgence that gets switched off the moment he goes, and that effulgence convinced me that there is divine in those people. I mean, these are people with a sort of rough look or tough look, whatever you want to call it. But then when he is there, they change completely. My God, it's not possible for an ordinary human being to do. The other thing is, sometimes he will stand there and look at infinity. It is as if all the people in front of him have dissolved, they become one, and he is one with them. He is in a different state, all by himself, and he has drawn into that himself all the people in front of him. I have seen that. Then suddenly he will snap out of it and start talking to somebody. So you see divinity at the practical level and or more or less at the abstract level. And therefore, it's all a question of how you look at him. As he says, if you look at God with a human eye, you will see a human being. If you see God with a divine eye, you will see the divine. And that applies not only to the form of Sai Baba, but even nature. I remember many years ago, I was in the Himalayas in a place called Gulmarg in Kashmir. I was there. There was a Christian with me. He was an architect working in our department. And he looked at all those wonderful snow-capped mountains and the meadows at the lower levels, and he said, gosh, we don't need to build a church. This is the greatest church, and it's been built by God. Yeah. So he was not looking at mountains. He was not looking at the snow. He was looking at God. So if you look at God, you will see God. If you look at him as man, you will see only man. I think it's a matter of perception and your conditioning and your attitude. I don't know whether you agree with me, but that's the
No, I do. In fact, I'm intrigued still, but I want to go back to the premise of this conversation about you being a scientist, because in addition to looking at Baba with your eyes, you hear his words with your ears, and you process them as a scientist. You process them as an educated being. Somewhere along the line, you made the switch to seeing Baba more with your heart, though, than hearing his words with your ears. Did that come naturally for you? Did you have to work at that?
I hope so. I thought I was a human being first, and then
well, so many of us are so distracted by the mysteries of life that we can become obsessed just by that alone.
You see,
and miss the feeling of life.
Let me tell you, the people get obsessed with science for two reasons. One is, it gives them a chance to be in the limelight. The other is...
Well, that can go for any profession.
Yes, yes. But particularly, a lot of people get into science because, you know, you compete with very intelligent people and so on and so forth, and then making discoveries. But there are people who get tired of it after a while. And as far as I was concerned, I always had a sort of social side to me. I was always disturbed by poverty. I was always disturbed by cruelty, animality of man, and so on and so forth. Because, you know, we had grown up under Gandhi, so to say. So the problems of humanity always bothered me. It is not as if science always took #1 precedence in my attention. The problems of humanity always bothered me, and there came a time when I said, okay, I have to blend these two together to the extent possible, and if one overtakes the other, fine, there's no problem about it. So I have not really regretted when I stopped research, and in fact even in my scientific career towards the end, I was grooming people much more than I was doing science. And what I did was, I always tried to instill the importance of values. Avoid upmanship, be true to yourself, integrity, character, these things I stress. And I was very happy to find that many of these people would meet me years later and thank me for being tough with them in the early days.
Well, Baba seems to be sending out ambassadors of all those qualities now to points all over the world. The Sai students that I've come to meet as adults are now beacons of light in their community in the West and America. And that's something we haven't seen taught in many of our schools for quite some time. Those values seem to catch very little attention, regrettably.
Well, that's because our priorities have changed. I mean, after all, I have read stories of George Washington standing up for truth without being afraid of punishment. And if you listen to Baba's discourses regularly, you would be amazed at the number of times he mentions Abraham Lincoln. So if two people are frequently mentioned in the dispatches, they are Buddha and Abraham Lincoln. In fact, they figure more often than Christ. Because these are, you know, classic cases.
Yes. I want to ask you a question about the good works of Satya Sai Baba, the hospitals, which are almost beyond description for the person who hasn't seen them, the schools, the education system, the water purification projects. I'm guessing there's no way on earth even Baba can meet these needs universally. Is the purpose behind these works to serve as a model for others to carry on? If the people of India can do this with very little money and do it so successfully, is that the purpose of why he's putting so much attention towards this, to serve as a model for others?
See, there are a number of reasons. I can't second guess him, but I can say there are some obvious lessons to be learned. The first is that you must be selfless in anything that you do, whether it's small or big. If there is a tinge of selfishness, then there is a chance of failure. But if it is totally selfless, then there's a very great chance that it will succeed. A selfless person is full of love. And love is far more powerful than we recognize it to be. And I would say these projects are demonstration of the power of love. It's not just the hospital or the water project or this or that, and there are so many of these things. He wants to show that the way to solve problems is through love and not any other method. Conflict will certainly not solve problems. It may shelve the problem, it may sweep it under the rug, it may keep it supposedly under control, but it would erupt later with greater violence.
He says he is not about being a religion, that his is the religion of love. I hear that word over and over again, but I'm guessing that's the most difficult four-letter word for most humans to understand, including myself, what love means. You're talking about acting selflessly. I don't know too many people who can do that.
You see, we have lost practice, and so we think it's impossible. But in a small measure, we are all alive because of selfless love. We don't realize that. Let me put it this way. I thought about this a long time. You see a newborn baby. That newborn baby cannot survive unless the mother is prepared to get up in the middle of the night and feed it, clean it, take care of it, and so on and so forth. That is selfless love in action. That is really God's love for man. You and I would not be alive if our mothers hadn't done it. And every mother on earth is doing it all the time from the beginning of the human race. But we don't pay attention to it. Somehow other factors come and eclipse this. Life goes on because of love, and it's not confined to humans. You look at a tigress, how it protects the cub. A cat, how it protects the kittens. God has built this into living beings. Kindness, compassion, and love. Of course, it appears in distorted forms. But now what we are trying to do is we are literally trying to edge it out. That's our problem. Baba says, no, keep it alive.
How much longer do you continue to serve in a variation on that theme, in that capacity, before you decide to simply retire and enjoy the fruit of your achievements over so many years?
That's an interesting question. Just before I retired from service, I came to Baba and said, I want to come here and work. He said, you're not retiring, I'm going to retire you. So with Baba...
Retire you.
Yes. You don't take a vacation. He doesn't take any vacation.
He puts a new tread on you.
Yeah, he doesn't take any vacation. He says, change of work is rest for me. And actually, you know, I now have no encumbrances. I'm all by myself. I have no particular agenda of my own. And my only complaint is he has given me only 24 hours a day. So I don't think he can extend it a little longer. Because if, like Einstein, I can travel, like Einstein says, I can travel at the speed of light, I can make 24 hours last longer. But I can't do that. I have to be where I am and do my work. I feel enormous strength and pleasure and happiness in doing his work. So why should I trade it in? I'm not going to trade it in, by no means, no way.
Let me ask you a leading question.
So you can't give me a ticket to Hawaii.
I was going to say, might these be the happiest days of your lives, or of your life, or could you be sent to Paris or Hawaii and find greater happiness?
No, I would say, as I told someone else, these are the best years of my life.
They are.
A quote from the title of a movie. I think Frederick March starred in it.
Yes.
I would unhesitatingly say these are the most useful years of my life. I know who I am finally. I know what I am doing. I know why I am doing it. I know for whom I am doing it. And I am grateful to God for giving me this opportunity.
Well, then let me...
If he sends me to Hawaii to do some work, you will find me there doing work, not on the beaches.
Then let me give you one last test question as our time's running out. And you said it was okay if I asked...
How do you think I'm scoring so far? Oh, you'll keep that a secret.
I'll let you know when you answer this last question. If these truly are the best days of your life, if you wouldn't trade places with anyone else on the face of the earth, I think you kind of said that by extension, then for the person hearing about this place called Puttaparthi Prashanti Nilayam Satya Sai Baba, what's the most important thing you could say right now that would help people understand why this transformation has occurred to you, making this the most important time of your life?
Well, I would say that I was made to realize who I really am. I'm a human being. I got to live like a human being. And Baba has given a definition of a human being. He says a human being is one with a heart. And for heart he uses the Sanskrit word hridaya. And he says hridaya is hrit plus daya. And daya is the Sanskrit word for compassion. So unless your heart is overflowing with compassion, you're not a human being. And I would say Puttaparthi is telling the world now, discover your heart, discover the compassion, and let it flood all over your body, and let it flow out through your body in acts of love, selfless love, that is.
Dr. Venkataraman, you do very well on that side of the microphone. I think you should stay there for a few more years. Thank you very much for
Yes, but not answering questions. It is almost like a Senate hearing.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you. And a change. I would now like to know my score.
You get 101.
We will take part. Respecting and abiding by